Man, I don't know why, but that one hurt worse than the others.
In the world full of podcasts, he's the undisputed heavyweight champion of hot takes, an Auburn sports homer, master of the boog, and message board legend. Get your buttons buttoned and your hats flattened because the Top Button Podcast is about to kick off. And you don't want to miss your courtside seat. Now, here's your host, Charlie Five.
Yes, sir. We're back. It's another episode of the Top Button Podcast Reaction Edition. And here we are again discussing a loss. And for some reason, this one hurt way worse than all the others. Auburn falls to Vanderbilt on the road in overtime, 45-38. Yeah, you read that right. Or you heard that right. 45-38. An offensive explosion, a defensive letdown, an emotional game, an emotional charge that Auburn made and almost took down a top 15 team on the road after a week of upheaval. We got a ton to talk about. And we're going to just go ahead and jump right into it. I can't really put my finger on why, but this one's lingering with me a little bit. It hurts worse than all the others. I think it's mostly because of when you removed one guy. When you removed one guy out of the equation, you saw something happen with a team that is really unexplainable. I mean, I guess it is explainable. It's just not very positive towards that one guy. But you saw fire lit under a team, especially right out of the gate on offense and defense, where it's like, man, I had maybe we saw the warning signs, but you didn't realize how, I guess, detrimental the organization was, the discipline was, the culture was. You didn't really realize it until he's gone. And obviously I'm talking about Hugh Freeze. And, DJ Durkin has to go in and sort of rally the troops, especially on the offensive side of the ball, because there's just no leadership on that side of the ball. And he anoints Derek Nix, who, to my knowledge, this was maybe the first game he's ever called the plays 100%. If not the first, it's been the first in a very, very long time, where he's the sole person responsible for crafting the plan, the sole person, the sole voice responsible for calling the plays in all the situations. I mean, he had to go do that in a week, and you saw the team respond the way they did. It was something very, very special, and you just really wanted to see them come out with a victory. But the little things that you can't fix in a week, little things that it's going to take an off season. It's going to take a lot of coaching. It's going to take a lot of altering standards to be able to change. You saw the little things, the false starts on the goal line that take points off the board. Holding penalties, man, you can go either way with those. I mean, sometimes it's poor form. Sometimes it's just trying a little bit too hard to make a play when you maybe don't have to. I can think about the Preston Howard hold that took a touchdown off the board. I mean, he also, he turned around and he had a touchdown saving block a little bit later in the game. So him just trying to do maybe a little bit more than he was capable of. You were out Brandon Frazier, so obviously you had to turn to Preston Howard. There wasn't really any other options you could go to. But just little things like that. I don't know how much discipline is associated with those face masks, where it's like you're just you're hand fighting, you're trying to reach, you're trying to make a play, and your hand gets caught in a face mask. Like there's a couple of freak ones of those. We get a big sack and we accidentally grab a guy's face mask. Like we just once again, you gotta, I guess eventually you gotta create your own luck. But we just have really bad. We just have continually had bad luck, bad juju when it comes to needing a big play. I still haven't seen the play. We may have scored on this drive anyway, so it doesn't really matter. But like there was I can't 1,000% remember. There was a pass interference called on a double pass interference. I still haven't seen the offensive pass interference on that play. It was on. I think it was ended up. It was a pass to Jeremiah Cobb coming out of the backfield, and there was a double pass interference. And I have no idea where it is. Like we just didn't catch any breaks. I mean, Vanderbilt went that whole game with 3 penalties called. I don't buy that. To our 12, which seems unfortunately that's been the theme throughout the whole year. But I really wanted this one. I wanted it for DJ because he's worked his tail off and he's, there's the whole story around him and having to kind of work through everything he's had to work through to get himself back in a position. And what he's done at Auburn has been incredible. And for him to get the interim shot. And it's like, I don't think, and we'll talk about this a little bit later. I don't think this loss should disqualify him. And I don't think that this loss should have like solidified that he should have been the head coach. Obviously, I want him to get a fair shake at it at the end. But like you can feel, especially in that post-game press conference, man, you can just feel how much he loves Auburn. You can feel how much he loves these guys, and you can listen to them talk about him, and you know how much they care about him and how I'm sure how bad they feel that they let him down, because this would have been, a very, very big moment for everybody. So I think seeing that's just made it that much tougher on me as well. Can't talk about this game and not talk about the offensive explosion. We're going to jump into the details about the offense in just a second, but before we do that, let's give a quick shout out to me, Kyle Rush with Keller Williams Real Estate here in Auburn and Opelika, part of the Legacy Property Group. Look, if you're looking to buy, build, or invest in the Auburn, Opelika, Lee County area, I'd love to have a shot to help you and your family. Or if you need to get out of town, if you need to sell a house, I'd love to help there too. So we got a great team. We're doing a lot of fun stuff. I have some really interesting, a really unique investment opportunities. So definitely hit me up. My email is kylerush@kw.com. I'd love to help you guys out. Offensive explosion. It's really, really hard to fathom how they did what they did in 1 week. They made the decision to roll with Ashton Daniels, and he plays just a beautiful football game. There's really not much else you can say. A beautiful, beautiful football game. 31 of 44 for 353 yards and 2 touchdowns. And then he backed up that with 18 carries for 89 yards and 2 touchdowns. So happy for him. I talked with, believe it or not, I talked with Bo Wallace after the game. We may record a little bit later this week. And he said, obviously, I'm going to watch the All-22 and see if I can, 100% figure out what Nix was doing. He goes, but from just off the cuff, he said that was vintage Hugh Freeze offense right there. Up-tempo, RPO, and giving Ashton half-field scan reads, going a little bit quicker, which is what you're supposed to do when you're having quarterbacks that struggle. And the quote that he said that really blew my mind, he said, "This is who Hugh Freeze is. I don't know what happened, This is his offense. What happened? And I think that's the question that many of us are asking. What the heck happened? This is what it was supposed to look like. You're getting the ball to your playmakers. I mean, I think the first time maybe ever you've had two receivers with double-digit catches, double-digit receptions. You had Cam. Man, I could talk about Cam for a whole show, who had 10 catches for 143 yards and had 3 of the best catches you'll see in a season. He had a touchdown catch, the one-handed touchdown catch, one-on-one, and then you turn around with a must-have 2-point conversion. You go right back to him, and I believe he kind of reels it in with one hand again. And then you got to have a third down conversion or you got to have a big first down, and he makes a tightrope play on the sideline. He was unbelievable. Maybe his best game as an Auburn Tiger, 10 catches, 143 yards. And then Eric Singleton, 11 catches for 102 yards and a touchdown. Caught that big slant to open the game, that big RPO where we singled him out and ran a really pretty play where it was just one-on-one, and he did what he always does, or what he most of the time does, is he beat his guy. Spread the ball around too. You had Malcolm Simmons caught one. He dropped one too that was right in his face mask, but he caught a little screen pass and made a big play when we needed it. 2 catches for 46 yards. Jeremiah Cobb threw it to him out of the backfield a lot. And Perry Thompson got in the action, 4 catches for 28 yards. Just everything looked like it was supposed to look. And this is not a bad defense. It didn't matter because we couldn't do this against bad defenses. We scored 3 points against the worst defense in the conference. We scored 1 offensive touchdown against another one of the worst defenses in the conference. And you go out there and just light it up on offense. And it's just really insane to see that that's all it took was one change. And it was not the change that you would expect would typically yield better results on said coach's side of the ball. You still have so many little things like pre-snap penalties and stuff like that you got to get fixed. It's so late that it's impossible to really get those things changed and fixed without just having, I'm sure, a complete overhaul on the offensive staff. But boy, they were fun to watch. Listen to this. There was a stat that I saw that said, I believe if you look at yards per play, just yards per play, Auburn, and this is from Nathan King, Auburn averaged 6.9 yards per play tonight or last night versus Vanderbilt. That's more yards per play than all but one of the games, 25 games. That is non-conference and conference play. There's only one game Hugh Freeze coached at Auburn. Let me take that back. That's better than all but one game Hugh Freeze has coached against Power 4 opponents. So he's had 25 opportunities versus Power 4 opponents. This one game against a ranked Power 4 opponent on the road was as better than 24 other opportunities we had. That's insane to me. Some other stats from Justin Hokanson at On 3. Auburn's 563 yards of total offense were its most in an SEC game since 2019. Auburn ran 82 plays from scrimmage. Its most since 83 versus South Carolina in 2020. 82 plays from scrimmage. That's crazy. It's nuts. The last time Auburn had a 300-yard passer, 100-yard rusher, and 100-yard receiver in the same game was the 2004 SEC championship game versus Tennessee. It's nuts. 1 week, you were able to do that. Vanderbilt's like, I think they're 8th or 9th as far as total defense goes in the conference. So like right there in the middle, like it wasn't like they're a pushover. People aren't scoring just a ton of points on them. They answered every time except for in overtime. Every time Vanderbilt would make a run, it felt like we answered. We would answer, especially late in the game. Answer, something that you never would have had the faith we could do prior. The minute Auburn would have lost the lead, everyone would have probably turned their TV off because there's no chance under previous leadership that you felt like we could go and come back. I'm just blown away. And then as great as the offense was, the defense obviously struggled big time. They came out with a really good plan. And then that quick touchdown drive where Vanderbilt kind of went down the field in 4 plays, spread Auburn out, and started throwing the ball. I think I said that I wonder if that is the recipe. Because remember last year, they just kind of stuck to their same old offense, and they really couldn't get anything done. We really shut them down. So then they come out, they kind of spread it out, they go a little more tempo, and we found it really hard to figure out a way to adjust, which is something that's very, very uncommon. Gave up a ton of points, obviously, 38 in regulation, and then the touchdown in overtime. They had over 500 yards, which is, I don't know that that's happened under DJ Durkin since he's been here. I worried that the only thing that could happen in this game was that the defense would take a step back. Like that would be the only thing in reality that could happen, is that the defense is going to probably take a step back because of the attention to detail throughout the week and all of the upheaval. I figured it was going to hurt the defense the most. And it ended up being correct. You know, I don't make any bones about it, and I don't think a lot of people do, that what DJ's done at Auburn, to me, deserves a shot, at least a shot at becoming the head coach. And I think there's a lot of people, because you don't really look at the whole picture, you just kind of live in the moment, that are going to look at this and say, well, he's out. Can't have that. And I kind of shake my head and I try to be nice about it. But the question I would want to ask is, first of all, there's one coach on this staff that DJ Durkin's hired. One coach. Do you think that the performance tonight on the defensive side of the ball, granted, he's the head coach now, so as much credit as you want to put on him negative for the defense, you got to look at the offense too. And they were able to figure something out in a very, very short period of time. Do you think this is the exception or the rule? Based off what you've seen in the previous, 16 games on defense? Do you think tonight's the exception or the rule? And if you think it's the rule, I really want to hear your explanation on it. We've talked about how tough it is to be a head coach and call plays. This is a prime example of that. He doesn't have an option but to try to be the head coach right now and call the plays on defense. It's just becoming way, way, way harder. And then you look at the way that, on top of everything that's happened this week, it was a recipe for disaster on the defensive side. They made the big stop right there on 4th down, where, in my opinion, Vanderbilt should have kicked it and ended the game. There were still some bright spots, but there were just, man, we busted a coverage that gave up a long touchdown. Like, when does that happen all year? I think you got to go all the way back to the Baylor game where you look at something where there was a busted coverage and there was just a guy running wide open. That just doesn't happen. That hasn't happened. You just you wonder, like, what all was missed this week that in previous weeks you wouldn't have missed because of everything that was dropped in your lap. Now you have a week off to prepare. I mean, I almost would expect some really big adjustments to be made over the next 2 weeks to get ready for your, what should be a layup game, and then Alabama. I'll tell you what, that game made me way more optimistic for the Alabama game. That's what happens, especially on offense after 1 week of preparation. I think they can get the defensive side sort of hemmed up and figured out with 3 weeks to prepare, basically. But the offensive turnaround was pretty incredible. I just don't think that. I think if you say that this DQs DJ, then you didn't want him to begin with, and that's fine. I think it's silly, but it's fine. But it should be over. It should be over way something different than just this one game. We had the discussion, oh man, this is real concerning. Is it concerning? What are you concerned of? Are you concerned that this is what you will see if he becomes the head coach? All the attention to detail in the 16 games prior, you feel like now this is DJ as a head coach. I don't get that. We're not going to run it back with the whole every single coach on the staff. He's going to have a plan to put together as far as what happens on both sides of the ball. I don't get it. If there were signs, last year Auburn struggled to get off the field on 3rd down. This year Auburn's number 5 in the conference on getting off the field on 3rd down. Huge improvements in 1 year, becoming a really, really solid defense. Like, this is the only game you've given up more than 24 points. And it's the game where you had all the upheaval, like surprise, surprise. I'm going to be happy. I'm going to, get behind whoever we hire, whether that's, John Summerall, Jeff Brom, Kenny Dillingham, whoever. I think John Cohen's going to make a good decision. I just don't want to see I don't want to see this game as being a disqualifier and erase everything that DJ's done and built. And you listen to those kids talk about him and listen to how much buy-in there is behind him. I don't want this one game to disqualify that. I think that would be silly. Let me know what you guys think. That was a tough one. I really wanted that one bad. I wanted that one bad. And you had a bunch of opportunities, and I mean, they're good. I hate it. I hate that they're good. It bothers me worse than anything that they're good. But they are. And Pavia, he's 3-0 against Auburn. So, got an off week. It would be very interesting to see what they do with the quarterback situation. Because obviously Ashton can only play one more game before his red shirt is burned. So what will they do? That's going to be a storyline to watch. Guys, I really appreciate you listening. Thanks for jumping on the live stream last night. We killed it. It was a ton of fun. A ton of fun. It always is. We'll be back again soon. We'll be back again live tonight with the Barncast with hopefully Zach and Daryl. And we'll get after it. I really appreciate it. Thanks for listening. We'll be back again soon. It's another episode of the Top Button Podcast. Stay buttoned.
Thanks for listening, and drive home safely.